Welcome to Two Sticks, One Puck. Today I will be predicting the standings for the Central Division for the 2022-23 NHL season. I'll be ranking these teams from 8th to 1st place. So let's start off this list with number 8, the Arizona Coyotes. There's not much to say about the Coyotes. We know their plan is to sell off as many players as possible and collect a bunch of draft picks in order to set themselves up for the future. Last year, their record was 25, 50, and 7 for 57 points, a pretty miserable season. The only shining lights in Arizona are Clayton Keller and Jacob Chychrun. And it looks like Chychrun is going to be traded sooner rather than later, leaving only Clayton Keller to build the future of this team around. So good luck, Arizona, in the Bedard sweepstakes. Moving on to number 7, I have the Chicago Blackhawks. The Chicago Blackhawks are in a very similar situation to Arizona, where they have sold off the majority of their players in order to accumulate draft picks. Again, these guys are tanking for Bedard. Last year, their record was 28, 42, and 12 for 68 points. Another pretty terrible season. Over the offseason, they traded DeBrincat and Doc, two future pieces of this team. It is very clear they are tearing it down and starting from scratch. The only pieces left are Kane and Taves, who will also likely be traded before the trade deadline, leaving them with little to no talent on the team, and that's why I have them in the 7th position. Moving on to number 6, I have the Winnipeg Jets. Last year, the Winnipeg Jets had a record of 39, 32, and 11 for 89 points. A pretty middle-of-the-road team. During the offseason, Winnipeg didn't do much to change their lineup. They didn't add major pieces, and they didn't sell major pieces, which is concerning because Winnipeg missed playoffs last year, and it seems tough to make the playoffs again this year, especially with how strong some of the teams in this division are. And when we look at their locker room, there is a lot of allegations of it being a toxic environment for the players. It looks like Dubois wants to leave at the end of his contract. Scheifele has been rumored to want out and play for a contending team. Wheeler has been stripped of the captaincy. This team is in shambles right now. The only bright lights in Winnipeg are Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers, who are both very talented players and will put up a lot of points with Winnipeg. Another exciting spot in Winnipeg is their upcoming rookie, Cole Perfetti. He played very well for the few games he played last year in Winnipeg, and for him to get a major spot in the lineup this year could be key to Winnipeg moving up in the standings. Another question mark is Connor Hellebuyck. He needs to have a big season to keep Winnipeg in the hunt for the playoffs. Last year, he played 66 games, had a 2.97 goals against average, and a save percentage of .910. If he can continue to put up these numbers and hopefully improve them a little bit, it'll give Winnipeg a fighting chance. But with all the negative press around Winnipeg right now and their failure to put it together on the ice last year, I still have them at number 6 this season. Next up, in the 5th position, I have the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars had a record last year of 46, 30, and 6 for 98 points. The biggest part about Dallas right now is that Jason Robertson still hasn't signed. He is a key contributor to Dallas's offense, and Dallas is lacking in offense altogether. Jason Robertson recorded 41 goals, 38 assists for 79 points last season, and without him, this team is going to struggle to put the puck in the back of the net. Another thing to look at when we look at Dallas is how well will their defense perform without Klingberg. Klingberg was a big part of the offense generated from the blue line, and without him, this is another area where Dallas is going to struggle to get offense from. Good news for Dallas fans, however. Jake Ottinger will still be in the net after putting up a very impressive playoff performance last year. You could argue he was the best goalie in all of the playoffs, and he only played one round. He played 7 games, had a goals against average of 1.81 and a save percentage of 954. Absolutely godly numbers, and if he can even put up something remotely close to this, it is going to be next to impossible for other teams to score on Dallas. I don't expect him to put up these numbers all season, but he has the potential to be one of the best goalies in the NHL this year. Moving on to the 4th position, I have the St. Louis Blues. Last year, the St. Louis Blues had a record of 49, 22, and 11 for 109 points. While St. Louis put up an incredible season last year, they did take several key losses to their lineup. They lost David Perron, a heart and soul guy of the team, and they also lost their backup goalie, Ville Husso. These losses could be a key contributing factor as to why I think St. Louis is going to drop down in the standings slightly this year. Good news for St. Louis, Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas both signed long-term extensions, and these two are the future of the St. Louis Blues lineup. With them locked up, the St. Louis Blues should still be able to put the puck in the back of the net. St. Louis also has a lot of defensive depth. They have guys like Krug, Falk, Parayko, Leddy, just to name a few. They have a very impressive blue line, and with a defense as good as this, St. Louis should easily make it into a playoff position this year. As mentioned earlier, St. Louis lost their backup goalie, Ville Husso. So that brings the question, can Binnington hold down the net for the entire season this year? He is going to be the main guy in the crease. Last year, he played 37 games, had a 3.13 goals against average, and a 901 save percentage. Pretty bad numbers for a goalie of Binnington's caliber. He needs to bring himself back to 2019 Jordan Binnington if St. Louis wants a chance at climbing higher in this list. In 3rd place, I have the Minnesota Wild. Last year, Minnesota had a record of 53, 22, and 7 for 113 points. Minnesota had an incredible season, but they lost one of their key offensive talents in Kevin Fiala. So without Fiala, their offense is going to take a hit. Luckily, they still have Kirill Kaprizov, who is easily one of the best players in the NHL right now. Last season, he had 47 goals, 61 assists, and 108 points, making him one of the few who got over 100 points last season. Another question mark with Minnesota is Fleury. Can Fleury hold down the net for the entire season? Last year in Minnesota, he only played 11 games, had a 2.74 goals against average and a 910 save percentage. If he can put up numbers similar to these over the course for an entire season, I don't think Minnesota has much to worry about in the net, but it is something to watch as Minnesota's season progresses. Moving on to number 2, I have the Nashville Predators. I know people are going to want to argue with me on this decision, but I think Nashville is the most underrated team in the entire NHL. Looking back at last year, they had a record of 45, 30, and 7 for 97 points, close to a 100-point season. And St. Louis and Minnesota, they got arguably worse over the offseason, where Nashville got better over the offseason. So I can see them taking this jump. They have Tanner Jeannot, who is probably the most underrated rookie of last year. He is able to put up points, and he's a physical player. He had 24 goals, 17 assists, and 41 points as a rookie. Tanner Jeannot should be able to take another step this year and add more points to his game, making Nashville even deadlier up front. Another benefit Nashville has is Duchesne bounced back last season. He recorded 43 goals, 43 assists, and 86 points. This is the Matt Duchesne Nashville wanted when they traded for him, and he's finally back. If he can put up numbers, I won't say he'll put up numbers as high as last year, but if he can be a 35 goal scorer, that is going to be such an added benefit to Nashville's offense. Forsberg has also re-signed. He is a huge part of Nashville's team. And over the offseason, they also acquired Nino Niederreiter and Ryan McDonough. These are two guys who know playoff hockey, and Ryan McDonough is no stranger to winning Stanley Cups. Nashville also has fantastic defensive depth. They have Yossi, Fabro, Ekholm, McDonough. With a blue line that solid, it is going to be hard to get pucks into their end. And just to top everything off, Nashville also has one of the best goalies in the entire league with UC Saros. Saros recorded 67 games played, a 2.64 goals against average, and a 918 save percentage. Nashville has incredible goaltending, and if he wasn't hurt in the playoffs last year, I think they would have given up a better fight against Colorado. So with Nashville making these steps forward, I think they're going to be in second place. And finally, in first place, we all knew it was coming, the Colorado Avalanche. Colorado is still a Stanley Cup favorite this year. A lot of people are predicting they're going to win back-to-back Stanley Cups. Last year, their record was 56, 19, and 7 for 119 points. We know Colorado is one of the best teams in the league. Their offense consists of McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, Lehkonen, Nichushkin, and they also have one of the best defenses in the league with Makar, Taves, Byram, Manson, Girard. This team has it all. One key aspect we have to look at with Colorado is that they lost Nazem Kadri in that second line center position. So can Newhook step up and be that second line center that the Avalanche need right now? We also have to look at their goaltending. Francouz and Gorgiev are the new goalie tandem, and I have a lot of faith in Francouz. I think he's going to be a great number one goalie. He was fantastic for the few games he played in playoffs last year. I've always liked him. I have a lot of faith. And Colorado won the Stanley Cup last year with just average goaltending at best. So, with how well-rounded Colorado is, there's no other team who could be in the first place position. And that's it. These are my predictions for the Central Division for the upcoming 2022-23 season. Let me know if you agree, disagree, and drop your rankings below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time where I'll be looking at the Metro Division.